We appreciate your time, and also joining us now is Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. He is a deputy Republican whip, an Air Force veteran, and a former member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman Kinzinger, thanks for your time. Just out of the gates, just want to get your initial reaction to the president's retaliatory steps today.
Well, I think it's a proper first step, and as was mentioned prior, we don't necessarily know if there's a wave two, what it's going to be, and we may never find out. But I think it's important to send the message that we're the United States of America. You know, we're the greatest country in the world, and we're not dealing with, you know, the former Soviet Union, the other polar in a bipolar world. We're dealing with a country that has an economy roughly the size of Italy, and so this idea that there can be an equal match between the United States and Russia on this is not the case. We far exceed them in our ability to do what we do. And the other thing I'll say is this: we need to get back to where politics ends at the water's edge, and both sides have plenty of blame on this. You know, we all swear to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That doesn't mean that you put your party or anything else above it. It means you have to defend the integrity of our country, and that's what the president did today.
So on that question, how do you explain Donald Trump's reluctance to acknowledge U.S. intelligence that's dating back to at least October has indicated that Russia was responsible for this hacking? What's their motive? What's his motive?
I don't know, and I can't defend it. I won't. You know, what I'll say is we need to be careful. There are some that say that because this hacking occurred that Donald Trump was not legitimately elected president. That is wrong, and that is dangerous. And so I think understanding that now, moving forward, we have a legitimately elected president, Donald Trump, but we need to figure out how to defend the integrity of our system going forward is extremely important.
So what would you counsel the president-elect then?
I would counsel him to say, look, you know, any attempt by any outside nation to interfere with our election, we are going to defend against. And he needs to say, look, I was legitimately elected, but I understand that in the future, any attempt to do this needs to be met harshly. And so that's what I would recommend to him. And hopefully, after he's sworn in, he does that. But I'm not going to defend the comments up to this point.
Will Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell do the same if Donald Trump wants to roll these actions back? Will the leaders, Republican leaders in Congress, let that happen?
Yeah, they're both very honorable people. I think they will. You know, I've heard people question, you know, is Donald Trump going to reverse what happened just now? And I don't think you're going to see a president-elect Trump invite 30-some more spies back into the United States. It's going to be hard to reverse this. I think we have an opportunity, again, for both sides to come together, the election's behind us, and say, what do we have to do in the future to ensure that the integrity of, frankly, the greatest democracy in the world is maintained? This is a bipartisan opportunity, and I'm committed to not play politics with this, but to do the right thing for the Constitution that I've sworn to protect and defend twice, both in this job and as a military pilot.
Just want to be clear, because maybe I misunderstood. You're saying that they would allow him to roll it back, or they would not because they're honorable men?
No, I think they would not. I think from a congressional perspective, there is very strong bipartisan support to defend this, to stand against the Russians and what they've done. And I think you will see both of these men and, frankly, the vast majority of Congress stand strong behind sending a message and having ramifications against the Russians for what they've done.
I guess the bottom line is, how do we prevent this from happening again, though, if the Republican, the new president, the president-elect, basically disputes to this point? Even just yesterday when he spoke at his own Mar-a-Lago property, he basically said, I think we need to move on.
Yeah, well, I agree. We do need to move on with our lives, but we need to figure out how to let something like this never happen again. And that's the role of Congress. That's the role of the media to talk about. And hopefully the incoming president will want to do the same thing. So I think, again, coming together as Republicans and Democrats saying, how do we defend this system? What do we need to do? This is a bipartisan issue. Politics ends at the water's edge. But both, you know, some on both sides of the aisle have got, some people say that this never happened. Some people say that this made Donald Trump president, or that even have gone so far as to say the Russians hacked the vote totals, which isn't true. So I think let's put the kind of anger just from the presidential election aside, and let's figure out how to defend the integrity of our system going forward.
Speaking of that, you told the Washington Examiner back in September that the Russians have the capability, and it's reasonable to think they hacked into Hillary Clinton's private server. By that logic, it would seem reasonable to think that they tried to dig up dirt on the president-elect as well, no?
That's possibly true. You know, I don't know. I know what we know from the intelligence community, which is the DNC, Podesta's email, and things along that line. But I think the broader thing is be careful what you send, obviously, but we need to defend our election integrity system, and I think we need to make it clear to whether it's the Russians, the Iranians, or anybody else that any attack on our cyber capability will be met with equal or greater response.
So would you support hearings on this?
I would support getting to the bottom of what this looks like. Well, the American people deserve to know. Congress deserves to know.
Adam Kinzinger joining us on this holiday time. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
You bet. Take care.